Good morning and welcome to another edition of Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River and AM 1240 KDEC. I'm Darren Swenson. Our Town also available on the YouTube as well. Search Our Town on YouTube or click the link on the River's Facebook page as well. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. 4 guests on the program this morning. Going to dip into the toy department a little bit and talk some high school football. The schedules and the district assignments for 2021 and 2022 have been released. We'll chat with Decorah High School football coach Pat Trewin and Waukon High School football coach Chad Beermann about the changes and the newness in the schedules, which came out earlier this week. We will have a conversation with Jason Rausch. He is the director of the Decorah Chorale. For the first time in 18 months, the Chorale going to put on a performance this weekend, and the weather, as of right now, looking pretty nice for Sunday. So hopefully that can be a outdoor performance and an enjoyable event in Decorah. Jason will tell us all about that coming up later on in the show. But we will kick off our show by talking to Veterans Memorial Hospital CEO Micheal Coyle. The new Veterans Memorial Hospital Family Clinic will open up next Monday. He'll tell us about that. He'll tell us about the COVID-19 vaccination rates in McKee County and a new ambulance coming to Veterans Memorial Hospital as well. So that's what we got coming up on the program this morning. We're glad you're with us, and we are glad you're tuning in or logging on or watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River and AM 1240 KDEC. Having a conversation now with the CEO of Veterans Memorial Hospital in Waukon, Mr. Micheal Coyle. And Micheal, some very exciting things coming next week to Veterans Memorial Hospital. The new clinic opening up on Monday. I know you just recently arrived in the area, but the process of the ideas of establishing this clinic to where we are at presently, how long of a process has that been, and how rewarding is it to see it come to fruition?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about anything here at Veterans Memorial Hospital. So the clinic project has been going on. I think we started taking bids in early December and got started with the project just shortly thereafter. So the last, 4 or 5 months here, we've been really working very hard to stay on time. And it's so very exciting to open a new family practice here in Waukon. We have found that the need for healthcare is just overwhelming for the folks over in Gunderson. They have been great partners with us, but we still need to provide more access to primary care for the folks in the county and in our north region here at Northeast Iowa.
And so far, how much attention is the clinic getting? I know you've offered the phone line a couple of times to make appointments. How busy are you going to be when you open up next week?
Well, the schedule's filling up pretty quick. This week, we did some dry runs with some of our hospital employees that are going to be patients, and we had 25 of them. And each part of the day when we do an appointment and we readjust to make sure that we are doing what we should be doing. And we're finding a lot of little pieces that we have to get better at. But when we open up bright and early on the 3rd, that Monday morning, I think we'll have most of the kinks out, hopefully. But the schedule's starting to look pretty full. And, Dr. Schwartz has a pretty full schedule. And that sure helps the clinic. And then, of course, Haley Ruff and Sue McMillan, they're just 2 outstanding providers that are going to have a pretty large following. And then in July, we add John Hawes part-time in the clinic. So between the 4 of them, we expect them all to be pretty busy.
And what will this clinic provide that wasn't being provided by Veterans Memorial Hospital in the past?
Well, really, it's just additional access to primary care providers. After Micheal left, we cut our by over half the ability to get in and see your primary care provider. And unfortunately, Gunderson got pretty darn full, and it was difficult to get in there, especially after Micheal closed. And so we really needed to make sure that we had opportunities for folks to be able to get in without A, having to wait a few months, and B, leaving the community. That's our number one goal.
And you just touched on my next question. How important is it to provide these services locally and keep your health care here locally for the folks in Waukon and Ellicott County as compared to going 20, 30, 40, even longer miles away?
Well, that's extremely important. When we take a look at the folks that are in our region, many of them don't have vacation days or sick time. So if they're gone from work, they don't get paid. And so to travel even over Decorah 20 miles can be a 2 or 3 hour day. For most folks, that's unpaid time, and they just can't afford to do that. And then secondly, sometimes you just need to come in real quick, have something looked at. You have a child that needs to be seen before they can go to daycare or go to school, and you don't need to ruin a half a day doing that. I think that's probably the most important thing. The other thing associated with it is every time that somebody leaves our community, it's an opportunity to spend those hard-earned dollars somewhere else. And so our goal here is not only provide amazing healthcare close to home, but also keep those dollars in the Waukon area.
What will be the regular hours of operation for the new clinic?
Well, we wanted to make sure that we had access. That's the number one piece. So each day, Monday through Friday, we're open, and we're going to be open over the noon hour. That's important. But we do have a couple days with some extended hours. So Mondays, we're going to be open at 7 a.m. and we're going to close at 5 p.m. So open a little earlier on Mondays. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday, it's 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's important. Again, it's one more opportunity for those folks who can't get off during the regular workday. And then Friday, again, 8 to 5. And so a couple opportunities before work, over lunchtimes, and after work to be seen by our providers.
And how do folks make appointments? How do folks make sure they can utilize the services they're providing?
Well, pretty simple. Our number is 568-5530. That's 568-5530. Call, make an appointment. Right now, we're getting you in pretty quickly, but over the next probably 2 to 4 weeks, it may not be same day appointments, but we're going to do everything in our power to get you in on the same day you call.
And I know if this was 2019, you'd probably hold a big grand opening ceremony for this clinic. But the way the world is right now, those big events can't really happen. Is there something maybe you want to do in the future if the situation improves?
Well, we're going to do it a couple different ways. We're going to do a virtual grand opening. So we'll have the big scissors and we'll have all that stuff, but we're going to host it virtually on Facebook Live. And then hopefully early this spring, later this spring, we can do an actual open house where we can social distance out in the parking lot and still take some small tours through the facility. But our goal is to get as many people to see the facility as possible. So I would say pay attention to our social media sites, including our Facebook page and Twitter and LinkedIn and some of those other pages, because we're going to do a bunch of virtual tours throughout our campus so you can really see the patient rooms, the treatment rooms, the reception area, all those fun places, as well as other pieces of the hospital, because we are connected. And then finally, we're really going to put out some fun videos getting to know our providers and our support staff in the clinic so we can put faces with names.
And as for the Facebook Live virtual opening ceremony, is that going to be Monday morning then?
No, it's not going to be Monday. We're going to
get
to the clinic a little bit. We have hospital week coming up here in a couple of weeks. I think that's our goal, is to do that during hospital week. We'll have some other activities for folks during hospital week. So we're going to do that very soon, but not quite that first week. We have to make sure we get patients through and we can find the bathroom sometimes and know where the rooms are and get used to that campus for folks. So, and we encourage folks, if you really want to see it, the best way, be a patient. Come on in and schedule an appointment. And we do a full line of family health care. So we do everything, from the OB side to family medicine. And, we're going to be offering some telehealth services and some other specialty services through the clinic. And those are going to grow. We're going to start a little small and continue to grow over the next year or two. The goal is to bring additional providers in, especially in areas like mental health, where we see a huge need that's being unfulfilled right now.
And unrelated to the clinic itself, we touched on COVID-19 a little bit. When you spoke to the Waukon City Council last week, the vaccination numbers in McKee County are pretty encouraging. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's getting much better every day. So we just pulled some numbers, and we vaccinated 6,837 people, with 4,250 people completely vaccinated here in the county. And so we continue to grow that number. We continue to have clinics and vaccination areas on our campus whenever we get those in. Right now, because we're using the Moderna vaccine, we're still working with folks 18 and older, but I think those clinics are starting to keep up pretty well. We're getting a pretty good handle on getting the number of people vaccinated.
And related to, you mentioned you're using Moderna. I know Johnson & Johnson has been cleared to get back on the market after a little bit of a pause put on by the FDA and the CDC. Have you guys used any Johnson & Johnson vaccine in your county?
Yeah, we gave 115 vaccinations from Johnson & Johnson, but we've taken a pause with that. And really, we're giving out what we're getting. So, but right now everything is Moderna, and it's really up to the state and the federal government about what they're sending to us. But right now it's all Moderna.
And final question, another issue that you've been discussing with some township trustees and with the city itself is the need for a new ambulance at Veterans Memorial Hospital. Seemingly everyone's on the same page that they recognize the need, and seemingly the conversation is, how do we get to the point where we can get this done as soon as possible? Is that a fair synopsis of where you're at?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the townships and the city council, they were able to raise enough money for us to actually order that new ambulance. So that's been done. We're in the process now of, we have the final design accomplished. We're just waiting on the manufacturer to give us some final directions and some more timelines. Due to COVID, everything's a little bit longer than what it normally is. But that third ambulance was originally donated to us, and it's got 300,000 plus miles on it. And, we put out a lot of miles in transports here, especially our mental health transports. And we do cover a lot of backup for area ambulance services. So as being the largest provider in the county, we need to make sure that we have 3 ambulances that can get all around the county and take patients, to and fro hospitals. And as well as cover all our 911. So working very closely with the city and the townships, we're actually meeting on a monthly basis now to make sure that we've identified the number of dollars and how we're going to raise and spend those dollars. So kudos to the boards, the township boards and the city council for having some foresight on that.
And it has to feel good getting all that cooperation on what definitely is a need for the community.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're finding is EMS is becoming one of the most difficult of our services to get covered. Back 20 years ago, everybody was a volunteer EMT. And now the number of volunteer EMTs across the country, not just here in Northeast Iowa, has really been reduced. And so, we just encourage folks, if there's anybody out there that wants to serve their community, learn a great skill, be part of the hospital, and become a volunteer EMT, reach out to us here and we'll get you trained up and we'll get you on the schedule. It's a very rewarding way to get back to your community, especially if you're thinking about the healthcare career.
And as long as we got you on the horn here this morning, anything else you want to pass on to the residents of McKee County?
Well, I just want to remind folks, all of our service lines are open. All of our surgery areas are open. Therapies have been growing and they're open. We are the safest place you can go to. Our housekeeping and facility staff keeps this place extremely clean. We take all of our precautions extremely seriously. And so don't hesitate to come in when you need care. If that's urgent care, emergency room care in our new clinic, or if you just need therapy or you need a procedure, this is a place to be. we're safe and we're ready for you. So.
Micheal, appreciate you taking the time telling us about the new clinic and other matters related to healthcare in Alamakee County. Thanks for you and everybody at Veterans Memorial Hospital for what they do to keep the community safe.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to the staff.
Micheal Coyle, Veterans Memorial Hospital CEO, talking about the new clinic and other matters related to healthcare here in Alamakee County. The Decorah Chorale is getting back to what they do best, and here to discuss that and the upcoming event coming up this weekend is Jason Rausch, the director of the Decorah Chorale. And Jason, it's been a long time since the Decorah Chorale has gotten to do its thing with the world that we're living in, and you guys get back to doing your thing this weekend. How tough has it been to not be able to get together and perform for the community?
Yeah, it certainly has been strange. We haven't had a concert since December of 2019. So we are in the middle of preparing our spring concert last year, which was going to be with the community orchestra. I'm doing big hour-long orchestral and choral work, and obviously that got all thrown out the window in the middle of March last year. But it's been really fun to connect with the singers again in person. Now, in the fall we did some Zoom rehearsals. Each section had an hour with me between September and December, and then we had a couple months off then in the winter, and then we came back this month, and now we're all together again and rehearsing outside, and we're just making music any way that we can. In this case, it's with our masks on and spread out 6-7 feet in a parking lot.
Talk about those Zoom rehearsals. I've seen it happen various places around, whether it be the instrumental end of things or the vocal end of things. It's neat that you can connect, but how big of a challenge is that?
Well, it's me sitting in a room by myself, literally not being able to hear anything coming back at me, because if the 20 singers on Zoom have their microphones on, it's going to just be a mess of sound coming through the speakers to me and to each other, and they won't be able to hear me in what I'm trying to teach them. So they're all muted and they hear me, I don't hear them unless there's a question. So it's pretty strange. Going into it, my goal was, let's do some singing, and number 2, let's connect. So then we would have 10 minutes in the middle of the hour-long rehearsal where we would just talk. Like, what's going on in your lives? How you doing? What are some positive things going on in your lives? What are some things we should be concerned about? And, sending positive vibes towards you. So, and we did a little special Christmas one where we did some Christmas carols in December, and I was kind of silly, and we sang all these different Christmas carols, and anyways, we just tried to make kind of a Christmas party with a little bit of rehearsing in there too, just to try to mix it up in that last rehearsal before we broke for another couple months.
And you mentioned it's been so neat to get together in person once again. Is that something that, like a lot of us in this world, we didn't realize how much we missed it until you had the opportunity to do it again?
Yeah, over the years, I don't know, this is my 7th year, I think, with the chorale. I've had people tell me that they appreciate so much the music things they get to do with the group. But they said, but that's only half of it. The other half is the social aspect. For some retired folks, for some folks who just moved to town, this is their outlet, their way to meet new people and to talk to friends, that they're singing friends, they're music friends that they don't see except on Sunday evenings. I actually had a person who came out to me last night who is going to be moving after this summer. And she said in tears, she's like, when I moved to this area just a couple of years ago and I knew nobody, and I felt like I didn't connect with anybody. And I started coming to these rehearsals and I found my people. I found people to connect with. And she was just so grateful. She's like, I don't know what I would have done if I wouldn't have had this group to start coming to every week, to have something to look forward to. So the social aspect, seeing each other, being with each other, is crucial. Our breaks, that we have during rehearsal, it's a time for people to connect. So it's a big deal for these folks.
And you have the concert coming up this Sunday. Tell us how you're going to put it all together, what the concert is going to entail. How'd you make it happen? First time in 18 months that you've been able to do so.
Well, it's been a lot of emailing. It's been surveys. What do you want to do? You know, actually yesterday or this Sunday, we had, because it was so cool outside and chance of rain and all that, we actually had to go inside for rehearsal. And for some of our members, when they filled out the survey, they said, I only want to be a part of it if it's going to be, or when it's outside. I gave them that option. In outdoor rehearsals only. So we had a few less people because, you know, they just maybe didn't feel like it was a safe choice for them to go inside and sing, even though we're doing all the mitigation efforts that are being told for us to do. But when we are outside, we're following all the things I've been following with my own students, with my high school choirs here at Decorah. You know, we still have the dots on the pavement where we rehearsed in the fall when the weather was nice with all the choirs, and the orchestra was out there too in the fall. And so we just followed everything I was doing then. We wheel out a electric keyboard. We wheel out a speaker for the keyboard so the singers can hear it. We wear our masks. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. Last fall, I was not ready to go there. I was not ready to take on that challenge because I didn't know how that looked yet until I tried it with my students for a couple months, and we made adjustments as we went along to keep everything safe. But this weekend's concert, the Sunday, May 2nd, concert at 1:30, is going to be in the parking lot where we have been rehearsing. The singers will have a chair. They will sing and stand from that position. We will have a piano out there. We will have programs. We will have just concrete for people to sit on. So they need to bring their lawn chairs. And we're asking people to out of consideration of the other people that are attending, to physically distance when they come, just to make sure everybody feels safe being there. And we'll have a paper program. I mean, some of those normal things will be present, but the whole feel of the event will be different. And the choir sounds great out there, you know. From rehearsal 1 to rehearsal 2, there was noticeable difference of, oh, this is what I need to do to sing well outside. And they're listening differently and looking up at me, and it's just such a very different experience for them and for me.
And I'll ask you, as a guy that can't carry a tune in a bucket, how much of a difference is it singing outside as compared to inside?
It's called dead acoustic, where there's nowhere for the sound to bounce off of. Of course, there's a wall behind us. There's concrete that we're standing on, but none of that is real great for pushing the sound out. So you just get very little coming back at you. And when you have a mask on your face, the sound, some have said the mask helps them to hear better because it's throwing the sound to their ears a little bit, which is a good thing. But the challenge is to not over sing, because you feel like, oh, I'm putting out, I don't hear myself very well. So you sing louder and you wear your voice out. So you have to pace yourself. But with this concert, it's only about a 35 minute concert. So we should be fine. But I have noticed singing a 2-hour rehearsal that the singers they're tired by the end of that rehearsal, because they're really using their voice. You know, as a person who uses their voice all the time, you know, if you call a game for 2 hours, you're probably at a different place at the end of the game than you were earlier on, especially if it was exciting.
Yeah, definitely the case. And you touched on how your students have been able to adapt in this year and the lessons you've learned and that you've taken to the chorale. Obviously, Decorah students are very talented when it comes to the fine arts with the instrumental music and the vocal music. And I think as adults, we don't give kids enough credit for how adaptable and resilient they can be. How have your students still managed to do the beautiful things that they can do when it comes to music this year with the challenges of the way the world is?
You know, they've done it much better than I have, because, you know, sometimes I have to stop myself from saying, oh, you know, you guys are doing so well considering all the circumstances. I don't think they want to hear that, because it's just become the norm for them. So, you know, there was a time in late November we didn't do an October concert. We did some recordings and sent them out to families just for them to view, to see kind of the work we've been doing. And then we did a concert at the end of December before we went away for winter break. And a couple weeks before that, I was feeling like the kids in my top group, knowing what that top group can do every year, I was feeling like, oh, they're just not buying into this year. And I was feeling kind of down about it and unsure and kind of getting on them in rehearsal. And so I just finally brought in my choir council and I said, what am I missing? What are we not doing? What can we do to make this work? And really what they said was, when we're rehearsing in the auditorium, was where we're rehearsing in November and December, and ever since then, they are all sitting in the seats looking at me. And they said, we just don't see each other's faces ever in class. Can some of the kids go up on the stage and face us? Because we would do these kind of things in the choir room, stand in a big circle, go in the practice gym, stand in a big circle, because they just want to look at each other and see each other's faces and sense humanity and community while they're singing, because that's so much of what singing is. And I said, yeah, we can do that. And I did a little bit of that with the Decorah Chorale too, where outside I had a couple rows stand behind me and face each other, just to see each other and feel like I'm not in this alone, because it feels very alone singing several feet from anybody around you. So that was a big lesson, the community aspect. I was missing the boat on the community aspect with my high school kids.
And it's back now. Give us the final who, what, where, when, and why about the concert coming up this Sunday. And obviously with an outdoor concert, you're a slave to Mother Nature on that end of things. And if the weather isn't what it should be on Sunday, when are you going to make this thing up?
Yeah, so right now it's scheduled for Sunday, May 2nd at 1:30 p.m., 35-minute concert. And if the weather is not favorable, if it's cool, if it's raining, too windy, then we'll move it to Saturday, May 8th at 1:30. And we'll post that on our social media, our Facebook page, and try to get it out to local media also, and post it on our Decorah Chorale website, decorahchorale.org.
And free will offering and bring your lawn chair?
Yes, there will be a free will offering just at the front table when you get your program. This year, as many nonprofit organizations, we, typically in a year, we're doing a concert in December for Habitat for Humanity, giving a couple $1,000s to them. We're having our fundraiser concert in November. We just haven't been able to do all these things, of course, this year. So free will offering is just gonna go to the Decorah Chorale, because we need that to move forward, to be able to start next season in a good place, to do all the things and support our community the way we like to.
Well, hopefully by December we can get that Christmas concert back, and the charitable donations can get back on that end of things. But most importantly, you guys are getting back to doing what you do best, and provide beautiful music for the community. We appreciate you taking some time to tell us about it, Jason. Best of luck for good weather, and a great performance, which we knew will be on Sunday, just west of the high school in the parking lot.
Thank you so much. Can't wait.
Jason Rausch from the Decorah Chorale. This Decorah Coach Conversation brought to you by Olson Explosives, Riser Financial, Viking State Bank and Trust, and Hacker Nelson CPAs and Business Consultants. We're with Decorah football coach Pat Trewin. The schedules are out. The districts are out. We're 123 days away from the high school football season kicking off. A lot of things to happen between now and then, Coach. But is this kind of Christmas morning for a high school football coach?
It very much is, and I hope for other people out there. It's just, you got to think about some new plans for the year, and everybody's always working and planning, but it's like, oh, this is what it's going to look like. And we're happy that we have a lot of rivalry games on the schedule, and we think we'll be pretty competitive, and we got a schedule that's a doable schedule. We don't have to travel forever and ever like in the old 8-team districts. And most of the schedule is pretty, it's teams we're very familiar with. Only, I think one team that I'm not sure if we've ever played in Decorah history. I don't know if you've ever researched that with Mason City. And then Marion was many years ago. And then a good chunk of the rest of the schedule is the same teams we played last year.
You are now a 4A team with the different alignments with Iowa high school football. You're actually, I believe, the second smallest, or if not the smallest, 4A school. That being said, with your district alignment, it was probably as close geographically as you could have possibly gotten, correct?
Yeah, and I think they really worked at that. They did not cross over some teams. In the old system, seemed like every once in a while you'd see, oh, this team drives past this other school for whatever competitive balance they would call it. But with 6 districts of 6, you better put the 6 closest teams together geographically, because you don't want teams traveling forever and ever and ever to get their games if they can help it. So you get a little better gates, and hopefully there's at least some rivalry type things that are mixed in there. And we've played many of these schools, even the ones that aren't in our conference. Western Dubuque, we've played most of the time in the last 20 years. We played them most years. Of course, we got 4 conference games, which is always nice to have. And Waterloo East now we've played several times in a row. So we were close. And then the non-district schedule, we can't ask for, we asked for 3 of the teams, and we wanted the 4th team too. I'm not sure if they put us down in their schedule in Charles City, but all the teams said, yeah, they'd be willing to play us, and some close by games, some rivalry games. Hopefully that'll, some good fun, and fans can show up and watch. So it's an exciting time.
And I thought it was a cool thing getting West Delaware back on the schedule, because you look at probably about 2005 to maybe 2 to 3 years ago, I thought technically West Delaware was becoming Decorah's top rival in football. Just the district geographically didn't work out over the last couple of years, but in my mind, that's cool to see the Hawks back on the schedule, because there's been some dandy games between your program and that program.
Yeah, if you go for just plain excitement for the fans, the West Delaware game from 2005 on, nail biters. I mean, 3 or 4 that are decided in the last minutes, and then some lot of games with very big stakes on the line to go to the quarterfinals or go to the semifinals several times. And I'm sure you've looked up the records, but it's pretty close. At first, we kind of dominated the series. They won the first one, and then we won several in a row. Then they won a few, and then we had a lot of fun last year in our victory. Hopefully we can keep it competitive again. I think they'll vie for with the guys I know they have back. They should be vying for a state title in 3A. I imagine Waukon is always thinking they're in a state title hunt anymore in 2A. And I do think Western Dubuque and Waverly are, they've probably got to be top 10 teams coming into the year in 4A. So we don't get any tougher districts than probably the ones we've had, and tougher schedules anyhow. So, but yeah, it's fun to play West Delaware, and it's been a great rivalry game.
How important was it to play as many Northeast Iowa Conference schools as possible?
That's something that we really like, because the kids know each other, and we play each other in middle school, and then we move it on into the high school area. And so some of those teams and communities we know, and we hope that we treat each other fairly well. We want to. They want to get something out of those games, and we want to get something out of those games. Competitiveness and also 3-level games whenever we can. But if the kids know each other, I think sometimes it gets the competitive fire in them built up a little more.
And you look at your team you got coming back, obviously, just like every year, kids to replace from graduation, but decent kids coming back, and plenty of opportunities for some kids to step up and get the job done.
Yeah, we played a bunch of these juniors played a lot last year. Haven't counted the returning letter winners, is still quite a few. And I'd say we probably have about as many starters coming back as we often have, at least starting on one side of the ball. 3 offensive linemen and about three or four skill guys that played a ton, and some all district players. And the guys are working pretty hard. The main thing for right now is just go be competitive. Almost all of them have been in one other sport, if not 2 other sports. A lot of them will be playing baseball this summer, and we just let them do their thing in baseball. Hopefully they'll get some lifting in, and we'll toss the ball around just a little bit. But and then there's a few guys that didn't get to start either way that I think are chomping at the bit, that some of them upcoming seniors that, they really want to show something. A couple kids that have been injured, and some that are just developing and growing. So, and then we'll mix in some juniors, and it'll be important for our juniors to step up and play like varsity players right away if we're going to be competitive with this tough schedule.
All right, Coach, we appreciate you taking some time as we get ready for the high school football season. A lot of things to happen in a lot of different areas between now and then, but August 27th will be here before we know it. We'll be chomping at the bit and hoping for another great season of Decorah Viking football. Thanks for the time this afternoon.
Thank you, Darren.
Pat Trewin, head coach of the Decorah Vikings. This Waukon Coach Conversation brought to you by Fairway of Waukon and Waukon State Bank. Football schedules out for the next 2 years. Head coach Chad Beermann joining us. And Coach, kind of high school football's version of Christmas morning on Monday, seeing what the schedule is going to be. You knew the majority of your opponents already, but seeing who the state matches you up with, I'd imagine it's a pretty exciting time.
Well, it's interesting. That morning we got an email from the state that said one of the big issues they were having was that apparently a lot of the 1A schools wanted to play A schools. They didn't want to play up or didn't want to play in. So they had a hard time matching those up. So I wasn't sure what we were going to get. I mean, I know we thought where 1 and 2 probably would be. So I was curious if they would throw one of the 1A schools at us, but obviously they didn't do that. So yeah, it was interesting to see who we got and to see who some of the other teams in our district ended up with.
And when it came to non-district opponents, you got 3 Northeast Iowa Conference opponents. One of them a 2A school in Crestwood. Of course, Waverly and Decorah still on the schedule. How important was it to keep some of those rivalries going that the kids face in other sports?
Well, I know. I think we had Cresco and Decorah 1 and 2, or probably the other way around. Actually, I think we had Decorah and Cresco 1 and 2, and then we had the majority of the other Northeast Iowa Conference schools down as possibilities. So I wasn't sure what would happen. We're middle of 2A, so it's kind of a big step up. But we're at kind of the level where we expect that, and so it'll be a good challenge to open up with Waverly. I think they had some good pieces, young pieces coming back, so they should be pretty salty this year. And then obviously Decorah is a fairly known product year in and year out. And then you got Cresco with a new head coach, so they're it'll be a little different. Of course, they'll have a couple games under the belt, so we'll have some idea of kind of what they'll be up to when we get to them.
As for your district, a lot of familiar opponents and some new faces as well. What was your reaction when you saw your district opponents last month?
Well, I think the big surprise obviously is Waller coming down to 2A. They're I don't know, the second or third biggest, maybe the biggest school in 2A this year, coming down from 3A last year. And I think they played a 4A schedule in the past when a lot of the Catholic schools played up. So, I mean, that was kind of the big eye opener. And then the fact that I think Jessup might be the smallest or one of the very smallest of the 2A schools that they're up in 2A. So that was, kind of a surprise. I mean, most of the others, we've had NFE obviously and Olwine and Union been a few years, but Union's been a district opponent for us in the past recently too. So.
And seemingly from a geographic standpoint, you've seen situations in years past where sometimes schools drive through a town to get to another town that's a district opponent as compared to playing the team that was closer to them. Seemingly, they matched it up a little better from a geographic standpoint. Just taking a brief glance at that, would you agree?
Yeah, other than obviously Dubuque's a little bit out of that room range. It's always nice to have, like for district games, New Hampton and Cresco, obviously just because they're right there. But yeah, as far as that, in the past we've had Columbus in our district and New Hampton not in our district, so you go through New Hampton to get to Columbus. So that's been a situation like that. So geographically, yeah, I mean, it makes sense to keep us up in the corner here. But obviously there's some that are a little closer, but we'll play, like I said, we try to get New Hampton non-district too, and that we didn't get that. But yeah, it makes sense the way they paired it up, I guess.
And obviously your string of success over the last half decade at Waukon has been real impressive. And just the mere fact that there's a standard that has been set by many players past, is that does that just create some hunger to kind of to achieve that standard and reach it to a higher level like the guys have in the past within your program?
I would hope so. We're going to be really young this year. We have some proven kids that'll be back as seniors, obviously. But there's going to be a lot of kids that were sophomores stepping up as juniors. So we have to replace the entire offensive line, the entire defensive secondary, most of the defensive line. Those are big holes to fill. There's some kids I think that can do it. We got some pretty good looking sophomores as far as it'll be juniors that are going to have to step into a lot of those roles. And we'll see, where it's at. And a lot of them are out for track. We got good numbers out for track, and that's one of the big things for us. We got 65 boys out for track right now. So they're getting better, and then we'll see how the summer workout goes and see where we're at.
As a 2A school, you're going to play an 8-game regular season, and you have 32 teams qualifying for the playoffs. As a young team that you just touched on, does that give you a little bit more of a margin for error in those early games to make sure you can take where you're at and build from there, as compared to maybe a 16-team playoff qualifying schedule that would maybe put a little bit more pressure to get to a high level early on?
Well, I think as far as they're not using strength of schedule or any of those metrics to determine who makes the playoffs. So you can take a loss early. Obviously, you don't ever like to lose, but last year that was actually a plus for us, I think. The big thing is you don't want to get anybody hurt that costs you going ahead. And that's actually more of a concern playing up against the bigger schools. Is just a lack of depth. You might end up with an injury or two that you put you in the hole going into the district. But those 3 games don't count against you if you were to lose those. As far as going into the playoffs, only your district record and 2A counts. So that'll be a good time to get some growth in. But just like I said, it's a tough schedule to open up with a young team. So we'll have to learn a lot and learn in a hurry.
All right, Coach. High school football will be here before we know it. I know we got a lot of things going on prior to that. I know you got a track meet to coach some throwers here this afternoon, but it'll be here before we know it, and we'll look forward to talking some football come fall. Thanks for taking the time this afternoon.
All right, thank you.
Chad Beermann, head coach of the Waukon Indians. Our thanks to our guest on the program this morning, Micheal Coyle, the CEO of Veterans Memorial Hospital in Waukon, their new clinic opening up next Monday. Jason Rausch, the director of the Decorah Chorale. And the Decorah Chorale will put on a concert in the high school parking lot coming up Sunday afternoon at 1:30. If the weather turns the opposite direction, follow the Decorah Chorale Facebook page and the other social media. They will tell you what's up on that end of things. The rain date for that concert is going to be Saturday, May 8th. Also, I want to thank a couple of football coaches for joining us on the show this morning. Decorah football coach Pat Trewin and Waukon football coach Chad Beermann. They will meet on the football field this fall. The schedule is coming out for 2021 and 2022 earlier this week, and how that all fits together and everything like that in the process of putting together the 9 games for Decorah in the regular season and the 8 games for Waukon in the postseason, in the regular season. it was interesting to have those conversations. By the way, all of our area coaches are available with those video conversations. Head to the coaches conversation page on any of the One Us Communications websites, hawkrock.com, the 94.9, 99.1 theriver.com, and also let's see, KVIKradio.com and KNEIradio.com. Those are all available at those locations. So our thank you to our guest, our thank you to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust, and our thanks to you for tuning in, logging on, or watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River and AM 1240 KDEC.